when we go back to the beginning of the Earth, 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth was really just a blob, a melted, gooey rock mess. And that's when the layers formed, the heavy stuff sank to the middle, and so on. And it took a long time before there was anything that resembled life on Earth. The ingredients were there. It just, evolution is an incredibly slow process in most cases. And so we had to wait around until the first cells kind of did their thing, about 1 billion years into the Earth's history. And even after that, we have another 1 billion years of almost nothing. And then another 1 billion years of almost nothing. Those first 3 billion years, there wasn't much here besides rock that was cooling and, you know, a very primitive atmosphere. That's important you understand that. The atmosphere was not like today. We needed bacteria to help make oxygen. And eventually we needed plants to create the vast amounts of free oxygen that we have today. So all of that didn't happen until about, 700 million years or so ago. You guys know what exponential growth is, right? Starts off slow and then bam, takes off. So that all happens right around here. We got 3 billion years of nothing, and then wow, things get really awesome and exciting. We go through what are called, geologists have broken it down into eras, E-R-A. The first era is called the Precambrian. You don't really need to know that, but it's the longest. It's that 3 billion years of nothing. And then we hit right here, we hit what's called the Paleozoic. You've heard of a paleontologist, maybe? Paleontologists study ancient fossils and things. So in the Paleozoic, we refer to it as the age of plants. Right here, we have a new era. All of a sudden, the age of plants is over, and we enter what is called the age of reptiles, the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs lived for about 270 million years. It was called the Mesozoic. A big asteroid came along, killed the dinosaurs. Didn't really kill them, it kind of finished them off. They were struggling anyway. And then we entered the most modern era called the Cenozoic. The Cenozoic has only been here for only 65 million years, okay? And so even during that time period, we've seen an explosion of life and new species that weren't here before. So the whole point of this babbling speech is that there was a lot of nothing, and then all of a sudden toward the end, there was lots of stuff, okay? And we went through a couple of changes along the way. If we stop and squeeze the entire history of the Earth into a 24-hour period, how long did it take for things to emerge? Well, it wasn't until 8 in the morning that we had the first real signs of life, basic cells. And then a big long stretch of nothing again. We didn't have fish until after 9 o'clock, 9:20, before we had fish. Humans did not appear, modern humans did not appear until 4 seconds before midnight. We have only been on this planet as modern humans for 4 seconds out of a day. That's pretty notable, because think what we've done to the planet in those 4 seconds. And you can see we very quickly exploded in plant life and other species, small organisms. And the end of the Paleozoic is noted right here. You see that big dip in the graph? We got a best fit line there, but there is a huge dip. That is called a mass extinction. It basically was the reset button on Earth. All this stuff that thrived and lived during the Paleozoic was gone, dead, will never come back again unless we figure out Jurassic Park type stuff, which we might. And the reason people know a lot about the death of the dinosaurs is because it's much more recent. So we have evidence of it. And it's more studied because of that. We know there was a huge asteroid strike. That we think there were some other factors. The dinosaurs had gotten so big that they were running out of resources, something that we might deal with as humans someday. And of course, the asteroid came along and devastated smaller organisms as well. So this huge dip you see, and you might argue this mass extinction is bigger than this one, but only because there was more to kill, right? It's a much bigger disaster, but there was enough life on Earth that was able to survive it, that it didn't seem to be as big of a disaster, okay? And since then, we've been doing pretty well. Biodiversity has been taken off. Why does biodiversity matter? That's the point of today's lecture. Why is it important? Well, because there are natural disruptions. And notice I said relative to geologic time. So things that happen over the course of millions or billions of years. We have huge tectonic events, giant volcanic eruptions, massive earthquakes and tsunamis. The sea level has flexed many times over billions of years. Indiana used to be under a shallow ocean. We know that. You go down to Bloomington, there's all kinds of limestone that has fossils in it that are sea life. We know the glaciers have come and gone multiple times as the Earth has cooled and warmed. Those are normal cycles. In the last million years alone, the glaciers have been over Indiana 4 times. Having biodiversity allows us to stand up to those natural disruptions, right? A big earthquake is not going to wipe out 50% of species on the planet. The population that comes out after an asteroid strike is probably not going to look like the population before it, because whoever survives that is going to be specialized. The big asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, you know who emerged from that? We did, yes. Small mammals. Anyone that could dig, burrow, live in caves, hide out for a few years while the Earth went through cooling and warming from the asteroid. They're the ones who emerged. The big dinosaurs, they had nowhere to go. We have a catastrophic event, totally chance or luck, and the survivors become the new dominant species. Another Halloween themed funny for you here. We measure biodiversity because it reflects how healthy a system is. And notice there's different types of biodiversity. We can look at the ecosystem as a whole. We could look at just the living species. And within a single species, we could look at traits, right? Survival of the fittest, genetic differences within a population. But whenever there's a stressor, that diversity means we have a better chance of not everything dying. Only some things die, and that's good because then life can keep going. Drought, disease, famine. Obviously, it's going to kill the weakest in most cases. Is the population rich? Is the ecosystem even? If it's not even, we talk about something called dominance. So richness simply refers to the raw number of different species. Both communities have 4 species each. In community 1, everything is even. And in community 2, not even at all. We have a dominant species. Which one is more even, A or B? It's a trick question, right? They have the same evenness. In A, there are 4 of each species, and in B, there are 3 of each species. They're both even. They all have the same amount. Okay, which one is more rich, A or B? B is more rich. Yep. Okay, and let's do B and C. Which one is more even? B is more even. And they have the same richness again, right? This is how many species we think we have on Earth. Notice that vertebrates, we only make up 3% of all the species on Earth. And that's because the dominant number of species are insects. We had the age of nothing, the Precambrian. We had the age of plants. We had the age of reptiles. We're in the age of mammals. What's next? We end up with the age of insects. A lot of ecologists think we could be heading to a mass extinction and insects could take over the Earth.